is going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of EBC Sports International. I'm your host, Michael Hudson, coming at you from Seattle, Washington. Before we continue on with our show, we have to see who is on our panel for tonight. Let's introduce them. So first and foremost, we have from Toronto, Canada, Albert CC. How you doing, man?
What's up, Mike? Glad to be here. Let's talk some sports. Let's do this, baby.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Also joining us from Santa Rosa, Laguna, Philippines, we have Ben Keanu Reeves Bernaldez.
What's up, Mike? And good to be on the show. Some hot takes on NFL, NBA. So let's go for it.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. And lastly, joining us for his first ever EBC Sports appearance, we have from the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, his very first time joining us, Mark Maronco. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to being able to talk sports and bringing some more insight to the show.
Yes, sir. Can't wait. Can't wait to the debate with you. And just a reminder for all of us, for all the viewers tonight, we are just a group of friends discussing sports. But before we get into our main topics tonight, we're going to start off with some news updates from around the world. Mark has an amazing story for us from the NBA as Golden State Warriors sharpshooter shooting guard Steph Curry just made history. Mark?
Thank you, Michael. In the first quarter, again against the New York Knicks, Steph Curry breaks the NBA all-time record in three-pointers made, passing Ray Allen's long-time held record at just 33 years old. Players from past and present, along with the fans in the arena, join in celebrating for Steph Curry passing a huge milestone in the NBA history, all the more cementing his place as one of the league's all-time shooters and currently one of the best shooters in the world. With so much more games and seasons left in Curry's tank, only time will tell how far that record would reach. A true Warriors legacy written in history. Back to you, Michael.
Thanks, Mark. You know, we're going to tackle this topic later in the show, but man, just total goosebumps watching them break history. But we're going to get into that later in the show. So our next story is from Albert, who has a quick update for us about Tiger Woods. What do you have for us, Albert?
Yeah, Mike, after a horrific car accident in February that nearly caused him to lose his right leg, Woods announced that he will play in the 2021 PNC Championship this weekend with his son, Charlie. This will mark the first time that Woods will be in any competitive environment since his Los Angeles car wreck, which left him in a hospital bed for about a month. Now, Woods knows that he doesn't know if he'll be able to play in the PGA Tour again, but he acknowledges that just being able to tee off competitively is a step forward in the right direction. He was filmed last week on the driving range, and many experts actually commented saying that he didn't look like a man who had 5 back surgeries, 5 knee surgeries, and a horrific car accident. Woods was even quoted saying, "For me, I have a long way to go. I have a long way in the rehab process of this leg, and it's not the fun stuff of the rehab." Now, all eyes will be on Tiger as he tees off for the first time in a long while. But if last year's PNC Championship taught us anything, the talk of the town might just be the younger Woods, as Charlie may once again steal the show. Back to you, Mike.
Appreciate it, Albert. Man, this excites me like crazy. The GOAT is back. He's swinging well. I saw him on a couple holes earlier today, and he just, man, it's incredible that he's even back on the golf course this early. So appreciate the story, Albert. Lastly, we're going to swing over to Ben, who has the latest for us from the Philippines.
Thank you, Mike. Nonito, the Filipino Flash Donaire Jr. and fellow Filipino fighter Mark Magnifico Magsayo were among the major awardees in the World Boxing Council's Best of 2021. Donaire, the oldest reigning bantamweight champion at 39, was given the Comeback of the Year award, while Magsayo was named Prospect of the Year. The Filipino Flash began his comeback trail with a 4th-round stoppage of French-Moroccan Nordine Obali to win the WBC title last May. He followed this up with another stoppage, this time against fellow Filipino Raymart Gabalio, also in the 4th round over the weekend. Donaire's co-awardee was female boxer Jessica Gonzalez. Magsayo, meanwhile, scored an impressive 10th round knockout over Julio Sea last August. This was despite getting decked in the 5th round by the gritty Mexican. Mexican superstar Saul Canelo Alvarez was named Boxer of the Year, and he was also given the WBC Cares Award and an Event of the Year in award for his bout against Caleb Plant last November. Meanwhile, in other story, Senator Manny Pacquiao is vowed to fight for boxing and weightlifting, which are in danger of getting delisted from the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics calendar of sports due to allegation of corruption and mismanagement. Pacquiao is upset by what's happening to these sports. He said it's unfair for the country. Said also Samahang Weightlifting ng Pilipinas President Monico Cuentabella, who act as Pacquiao's advisor in politics and sports. Both sports are significant parts of the country's Olympic history, with weightlifting delivering the first Philippine gold medal in the Games in history, and boxing adding 2 silvers and a bronze in Tokyo. The 4 medals represent the best performance by the country in the quadrennial summer. And he is also looking that they will fight for the sport to be included in the 2028 Olympics. Back to you, Mike.
Appreciate the story, Ben. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we're going to dive right into our topic, starting with the sharp rise in COVID-19 cases in both the NFL and the NBA. We'll be right back.
When things are tough and all you want is a sweet treat, many of us turn to chocolates. Maaaring magbigay ng agarang kaligayahan ng tsokolate sa pagpapabuti ng ating damdamin, pati na rin ng ating kalusugan. We are on the verge of putting the Philippines on the global chocolate map as the preferred source of premium chocolates. What were the ventures that led to the establishment of our own chocolate production? Ano-ano ang mga epekto ng pandemya sa cocoa sustainability ng bansa? In this episode, we will know more about the tree-to-bar chocolate industry with the chocolate maker of the award-winning Malagos Chocolate, Mr. Rex Puentespina, and Ms. Ann Leonardo, Head of Market Development of Globe Business.
Right now, we are taking it one day at a time lang, no? And this will involve a lot of pencil pushing and compute na to really be competitive. No? So, practicality is key.
Bawat bisita po natin sa website, bili natin ng produkto, tumutulong po tayo sa ating mga negosyanteng Pilipino. At hindi lang po sila, again, ang ating tinutulungan. Tinutulungan din po natin yung mga partner communities nila.
All these in this episode of Open for Business.
Hey everybody, how you doing, sports fans? This is Michael Hudson, and we are back with EBC Sports International. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into our first topic of tonight. So this past week, there has been a huge rise in COVID-19 cases in both the NFL and the NBA. I mean, there's just been chaos everywhere. They've had to reschedule NFL games. Bunch of franchises in the NBA had to forfeit games and postpone games and things of that nature. Many top names have entered the protocol, such as James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and almost the entire Chicago Bulls squad from the NBA. And in the NFL, you have Odell Beckham Jr., as well as Von Miller, and a bunch of the Rams players that are out. You also have Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks, as well as Cleveland Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield. So these are a lot of the huge names who have entered the COVID-19 protocol. So Albert, share with us your thoughts on the situation and, what's happening.
It's tough, it's definitely different times as well too. We can all remember 2 years ago with the Rudy Gay incident and how the NBA sort of shut down after one positive COVID case. Now it seems like what you said, left and right, we're hearing, these COVID protocols for certain players, whether they be role players or star players. And the leagues are trying their best to sort of truck along and put out the best product out there for the fans. But at the same time, you have to sort of take a look at the other side of the coin with regards to player safety as well. And like what you said, like give an example, that the Raptors versus Chicago Bulls game had to be postponed because they couldn't put 8 players together, which is the league minimum for the NBA. there's a lot of unknowns and sort of uncertainties. We all know that with the NBA, they had about 95% vaccination rate, but it's still rampant. It's still spreading quite frequently amongst players and even amongst staffers as well too. And like what you said with regards to the James Harden incident and the Brooklyn Nets, some of them were found out they're not going to be able to play 2 hours before tip-off time. It feels like we're sort of approaching like a tipping point with regards to these leagues where it's going to take just a little bit more for them to put a pause to play. And what I feel like, if one league pauses the game or pauses their games and puts the league on hold, all of the leagues are going to sort of follow suit. So it's going to be interesting to see what route these leagues take and how they can keep these players safe.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, I think it's safe to say that we haven't really seen anything like this. I mean, you just have an explosion of these new cases coming through with all these athletes. And I mean, both the NFL and the NBA, I mean, they're rigorously testing. I mean, they test every single day. And now it's just to the point where it's just like, I mean, are these tests really legitimate? I'm pretty sure. I mean, they probably are. But I mean, you have, in the rare case, Tyler Higbee from the Rams, who had a false positive, and a couple other players with false positives as well. So, speaking of putting the schedules on hold, Ben, do you foresee possibly any of these two major leagues putting the season on temporary hold if the positive cases continue?
Definitely, Mike. It's going to... they would have to resort for a postponement of the season for both NFL and NBA. Just last month, since Monday, nearly 100 NFL players have tested positive for COVID-19. And the league's most significant outbreak since the pandemic started in spring 2020. At least 39 NBA players were in the league's COVID-19 health and safety protocols by Thursday evening. So while the NFL have shut down 3 teams through the holiday break, and the NBA have also suspended some schedules for the games. I think the NFL Players Association agreed to a new rules that they have to place the league's 32 teams in the restrictive protocols until Monday, and they also have to review their protocols as well as with the NBA Players Association. They have agreed to update their protocols for the holiday season according to the memo they have submitted to the NBA office. And it will really require for this league to impose a stricter protocols for every team. It seems that the players are becoming relaxed, and since we become more lenient and more our players are kind of forgetting that there's still a virus outbreak, and we don't have to be complacent with this, because if they really value their profession and their livelihood as well, they have to be mindful of their health and what they're doing as well. They have to also look also for their teammates, the team as a whole and the organization as a whole, because it affects everyone. So if one player doesn't follow the protocol and becomes relaxed, and that is a domino effect, and everything will get affected by the situation as well. And we don't want to have what happened in the early stage of the COVID pandemic, wherein there's no sports, and we don't want that to happen. So if we want to have NBA and NFL games, they have to abide by a stricter protocols.
Absolutely. So I totally agree with that, Ben. And in addition to strict protocols, Mark, what are your thoughts on the I mean, what should the NBA and NFL do? I mean, I don't know the details of what athletes can or cannot do. I believe they have the freedom to basically go around. They're just not locked into their homes all day. Mark, what do you think that the league should do so they can basically pipe down the spread of the COVID-19?
Well, definitely, Mike. And we did see when they were playing in the bubble how it was definitely a lot stricter, especially with things being more contained and players even still doing daily tests to ensure that the the disease is spreading. But even if you look at the current rules for COVID-19 protocols now for NBA players, they have to undergo daily testing before even entering facilities, interacting with players. They go same-day game testing to ensure that those same protocols are met. There's no indoor dining in the same room. They need to keep 6 feet. And this is for unvaccinated players, because players still have the right to choose to not get the vaccine. Although we're at a 90% and above rate for the players being vaccinated, they still have that choice. We see the example with the whole Kyrie Irving situation. And then on top of that, even when we look at the rules, it's not only just the NBA or whatever franchises rules they have set, it's also the city's rules that to abide by as well. And so we look at Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco. Well, they prevent, for the NBA's case, preventing players from the Clippers, Knicks, the Nets, the Lakers, the Warriors. Like we said before about the whole Kyrie Irving situation. If he doesn't get it, or if he doesn't get some form of the vaccine, he just can't play. So then, right now, it really just depends on how we view it. They currently are strict, but it's just on how the players react to it, and if they want to continue to follow it, because of course we might not be seeing things behind the news or behind the camera that might be going on. Like how you said, there could be like the trust of these reports might not be clear, and so we're just going to have to wait and see the consistency and the validity of all these reports coming in, and hopefully we get things become more clear, especially if protocols become more strict.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And you mentioned Kyrie Irving. There's actually a report that just came out that he's returning to the team and he's playing only road games. So that's how rampant this has been, because I mean, basically all the Nets players are infected. So he's going to be coming back and he'll be playing the road games moving forward. So that's a pretty interesting story right there in itself. Albert, I wanted to go back to you. So with everything that's happening, I mean, who's to blame? Are we blaming the owners? Are we blaming the teams just getting complacent, like what Ben mentioned earlier, or is it the players? What's your opinion on that?
It's tough to say, right? So you take the example of, let's say, the Seattle Seahawks and Tyler Lockett, who Tyler Lockett has, yes, he has positive in COVID-19, but the Seahawks are an organization who pride themselves in sort of being able to follow the rules and ensuring that, you know what, no one is taking those unnecessary risks. But at the same time, too, it could have been out of their control that Tyler Lockett did in fact get positive. So as much as you can implement these rules and these players to follow along with it, it's tough to, you know, bypass disease because it is so contagious. And although these players and the personnel are trying to do their best to avoid, of course, getting contracted with COVID-19, sometimes it's just out of their control and they don't even know they're contracting it, right? So it's very tough from that point of view.
Totally. Well, you know, with that being said, guys, you know, we'll like always, viewers, we're going to keep you posted on, you know, the most up-to-date news of what goes on. But rescheduling of games have happened, and let's just hope that sports is not taken away from us. So we will keep you posted on that. So we're going to go ahead and stay with the NBA here and talk about Los Angeles Laker Russell Westbrook, who has been involved with some trade rumors as the trade deadline approaches. So, Mark, we're going to go to you since you are from the City of Angels. What is going on with the Russell Westbrook situation, and do you believe these rumors?
So, Mike, I believe with the whole thing going on with Russell Westbrook, it definitely lays back to his time in Oklahoma City with the Houston Rockets, and even in the Washington Wizards, how Russ can put up such a crazy stat package. You know, the whole Mr. Triple-Double himself, right? It's crazy how an NBA player like at this caliber still gets very slept on in his ability to be able to lead on the basketball court. And so they were hoping that Westbrook would be able to fill the shoes of LeBron whenever he needed to take a break, or whenever AD needed to take a break. Westbrook was supposed to be that guy to step in to give these guys a break for when the playoffs come, they can be ready like how they were ready in the bubble. And it just didn't pan out that way. And so if we look at other stars, for example, Carmelo Anthony, those are getting in that age. And although Westbrook's 33, the way that he plays just doesn't match the way that he plays for the Lakers. You know, it's very LeBron heavy. Like whatever LeBron needs, he gets, right? And so they needed shooters most indefinitely. And so with the whole Russell Westbrook situation, his role is more suited for a dominant six-man type figure. Although that was something that he wouldn't want to do, it's something that fits more of his role very well. But then, teams are still gonna look at him and say, "That's Russell Westbrook. This is a guy that's gonna get me a triple-double, could give me a triple-double almost any night." And so, although some teams might not think it's a good fit, the value of Russell Westbrook is still there, and I think teams should definitely try to get for him if they're looking for a strong leader in the locker room and someone who will show passion on and off the court every single night.
Great take, Mark. You made a good point that, historically, when you look at past LeBron-centric teams, he had snipers everywhere, right? Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith. the list goes on. And you look at the team now, and it's just like, yeah, you have Wayne Ellington, great streak shooter. He made a couple of good threes the other night. Austin Reeves made that game winner the other night. But as far as a consistent, 43+% three-point shooter, is just not there yet. Ben, speaking of Russ, we look at Russell Westbrook. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the NBA greats. Do you think the Lakers are just being a little bit too impatient with him right now?
Well, I've said this before in our previous episode that they have to, if they want to improve their performance, the Lakers, they have to let go of Westbrook. But now I felt bad with Westbrook, with what's happening to him. The load of the criticism and the jokes is on him. We've seen the last beginning of the season where the Lakers have been losing many times when he's on the floor. Because Russell Westbrook is a ball dominant player. Like Mark said, that his role is to be there when LeBron is out of the game. I think that is primary role. But now that there are times that he cannot really carry the team. Instead of winning for the team, he's more of making his stats, he's making points, and making sure that he does that. But I'm not sure that if that's really his goal whenever he's on the floor. But in their last win, their exciting win, when you saw that in overtime, where he made a 3-point shot that made them an tie ball game, and then their next possession, I thought he was gonna shoot it again, but he passed it on to Reeves, and they were able to win that game. But those kind of things that Russ should have to really work on his game, and I have to give props for Westbrook for all the teams in all the teams he went to. He'd really gave his all, and I'm sure that the Wizards are happy with that trade by the Lakers. And you see Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell are doing well in the Wizards. Not so for Westbrook. And we'll see if the Lakers are going to let him go, if they are really impatient about. I think it's going to be a team effort, not just Westbrook. Let's not blame it all to Westbrook. And we all know that his erratic play, and considering how ball dominant he is, plenty of people think it's just a matter of time before the Lakers will look at this and really put him on a trading block. We're not hearing from LeBron James. I don't know what his side of all this story behind Westbrook, but I think if he really wants to have a championship ring, he really have to assess his self and what he can contribute for the team that he is in.
Yeah, like they always say, you got to check your ego at the door. Definitely. So, Albert, hypothetically speaking, let's say Russ does get traded. Which team right now would be a really good fit for Russ right now?
That's the age-old question, right? Like, where would Russell Westbrook fit? And I think a lot of these teams, especially in the past, have thought it would be a good fit, whether it be the Wizards, whether it be the Rockets, OKC, what have you. The biggest hurdle, I believe, is going to come down to his contract. So Russ is still owed $91 million over the next 2 years. So for teams to be able to match that contract would be definitely the first step. One player that comes to mind is fellow Clutch agent athlete, someone who's sitting down currently with the 76ers, Ben Simmons. Who knows? Again, you're not getting a guy who can shoot, which doesn't really solve the Lakers' problems. But at the same time, it'll be a fresh start for both players. Another team that comes to mind is they recently said that they're selling is at the Indiana Pacers, whether it be Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner, or even someone like Karis LeVert. But definitely you'd have to match up those contracts once again. And funny enough, someone like Buddy Hield would be a great fit for the Lakers. And I laugh because it's the other route that the Lakers took instead of trading Kuzma, KCP, and Harrell for Russell Westbrook. Buddy Hield was actually the other player that would have been rumored instead of Russell Westbrook. So now they're sort of scratching their head and thinking if they made the right decision. So a number of different teams, but again, I think it's whether the contracts match up and what team would take on that heavy contract of Russell Westbrook.
Man, $91 million the next 2 years. That is crazy. Well, hey, thanks for your takes, guys. We're going to talk Steph Curry next because that has just been the biggest story these past couple weeks or so. So don't go anywhere, guys. EBC Sports International will return in a moment.
Dapat tayo magsimulang gumawa ng sapatos.
Kailangan nating unahin yung gamot ng lola niyo.
Paano sa mapadali? Bomber!
Dahil napakalaki ng lalawigan ng Quezon, napakarami pang magagandang destinasyon dito ang hindi pa natin napapasyalan. At marami pang pagkain ang hindi pa natin natitikman. Kaya hindi pa rin natatapos ang ating pamamasyal. Tara, ating pasyalan ang bayan na nasa pinakadulong bahagi ng Quezon, ang San Andres.
Lahat ng yan at iba pa, dito lang sa Tara, Ating Pasyalan.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back to EBC Sports International. Golden State Warriors superstar Steph Curry made history just a few days ago as he surpassed NBA great Ray Allen on the all-time three-pointers made list. Doing it against the New York Knicks, Curry broke the record midway through the first quarter. So, Ben, what does this record mean for Curry's overall legacy?
First of all, Mike, I think he is now comfortable, being labeled as the greatest shooter of all time in the NBA because he has surpassed Ray Allen's record and 511 fewer games than Ray Allen. Steph made 2,977 and in just 789 games, while Ray Allen made 2,973 in 1,300 games. So I think he will be making more of this record in the record books. But aside from the impressive record that he has made, and Steph has really changed the game, how the basketball is played in the NBA, and more players are now really trying to also improve themselves, their outside shooting as well. And you look at the roster of the Warriors, almost everyone shoot at the three-point area. Nobody, I could say, that hasn't really shot a three-pointer in the Warriors lineup. But that's also made Steph Curry the greatest shooter of all time, but also for me the greatest player, probably in the top 5 or top 6, is how he changed the game of basketball, how a shooter like him can really make an impact and carry a team to win consecutive multiple championships. And we've seen how he is before. When we look at the superstar players, we see the likes of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, also big players and not really that much of a shooter, a great shooter like Steph Curry. And my reaction to for him making that record is really an impressive feat, and I think nobody can really beat that because he's still 33 years old and he has more years to come. And the way he's playing right now, this is going to be a difficult task to beat whoever is attempting to do that. Unless Klay Thompson, we don't know, but I think only Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time in the NBA, and that cement his legacy as one of the greatest player also in the NBA. Not just being a great shooter, but also how he changed the game and how a lot of kids right now are trying to be Steph Curry, not LeBron James or other players. And I am looking at the Warriors this season to go all the way to the championship, and hopefully they win another ring in their belt.
You heard it here first. Ben, Golden State Warriors NBA champs this year. So Albert, we already know Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time. So where do you think breaking this record lands him as far as like the all-time greats go?
It's tough. Yeah, yes, I have to echo what Ben had said with regards to greatest shooter and all the different accolades that he mentioned and his ability to change the game of basketball, and that really reflects on someone's legacy, someone's ability to change the game and the way that it's played. In terms of where he stands in the greatest in terms of basketball, definitely probably in like the top 5, top 6. Of course, you have to take into consideration the other side of the basketball, literally, the defensive side as well too. But in terms of offensive prowess and ability to, create his own shot, his ability to get open, which I think is a lot of people, they don't really understand and see that skill. The reason why he's able to get these shots and get such a high volume of it is because of his ability to get open and his quickness around the court. So like what Ben said, Steph Curry, he's got a lot more in the bag still, doing that or breaking that record in just a little over half the time that Ray Allen had to. And like what his hat said when he put on his hat after breaking the record, it said 294 and counting. So let's keep an eye out on how high this record will go. And it's definitely going to be one of those records that's almost untouchable, so to speak. So even guys like, Fred VanVleet, he was quoted saying, Steph has made it possible for me to be in the NBA first and foremost. And like what Ben had said, echoing again, a lot of players of that, physical stature, not overly tall, but able to take the shot. Fred VanVleet, Trae Young, all these young guys who sort of mimic the range in the game of Steph Curry. It just shows how great he is. So yes, maybe top 5, top 6 in my book. If he was a lockdown defender, he'd be way up there. But in terms of shooting, he's established himself as one of the greatest players for sure.
Definitely, man. I totally agree with you on that. It's just amazing as someone, he's 6'2", 6'3", able to just score the basketball like that. I mean, you look at Ray Allen, he's 6'5". Reggie Miller, he's like 6'7", 6'8". These guys are big. So, he just has inspired millions and millions of people. So, Mark, last question to you. With this record out of the way, does this automatically give Steph the regular season MVP in your opinion?
Well, that being said, Mike, it's always up in the air who will win MVP. It really just depends on, of course, the record standings, because whoever's number one in their respective conference will always matter, and even number one overall within the NBA. And if the Warriors keep up this pace, Steph Curry deserves the MVP without a doubt. With him being the key cog in a very fast-paced Warriors offense, there's no doubt in anyone's mind Steph Curry is deserving of that. But with that being said, there are a lot of key pieces around the league that have a good shot at winning this title, this piece as well. For example, Chris Paul of the Phoenix Suns. We have Kevin Durant for carrying that Brooklyn Nets team to their current record right now, number 1 in the Eastern Conference. there's a lot of players that are very deserving of this award. And so we're just going to see how the regular season plays out. The records are looking and seeing how important each of these players are to their team and whether or not they are deserving of this MVP award.
Totally, man. Like you said, we'll keep you posted and we will see what happens with about 45 games to go in the regular season. So we're going to go ahead and swing it to the NFL. We're going to look at some upcoming matchups for week 15. As I stated earlier, there's been a handful of games rescheduled, but the main games that we're covering in this episode are still good to go for the original schedule. First, we're going to analyze Aaron Rodgers and the Packers versus Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Mark, what are your initial thoughts on this matchup?
You know, A-Rod is still playing, and so him being the great quarterback that he is and being able to adjust to different types of NFL defenses, no matter if it's number one in the league or the last in the league, he's still able to make it work, figure it out, and pick his spots where he needs to be. And so for me personally, I think the Packers are going to win this. But again, it's always a game in the game. It's always different when you're out there. The things can happen, and so of course it's always not set in stone. But I have my hopes on the Packers winning the game that's coming up.
Well, my fantasy team thanks you because on both of them I do have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams on my team. So thanks for that. Albert, how about you, my man? What are your thoughts about that matchup?
Classic NFC. I think, if the Packers win this game, they will clinch the NFC North and a playoff spot for the third straight season. But I think it's going to come down to a lot of the injuries, especially with regards to the Baltimore Ravens, right? The biggest name being Lamar Jackson. If Lamar Jackson isn't playing, then yeah, pencil in the Packers to win this game and clinch their playoff spot. And the Packers, again, every week they seem to be getting better and better. The Ravens are actually legitimate underdogs at home, and they'll try to take advantage of the run game. But ultimately, what I feel it will come down to Aaron Rodgers and the ball being in his hands late in the game. And he's shown us time and time again that, if Aaron Rodgers has a chance to win the game with, a 2-minute drill, he's going to come through. He's number 2 in MVP standings right now. And what the Packers record shows that. So I too have the Packers winning this game. It's going to be close. But again, the big question is if Lamar Jackson is playing. So
totally. And Ben, who's taking it?
Packers, of course, Mike. Lamar Jackson's injury is certainly going to be a hot topic that everyone will keep their eyes on this week. Even if he's active, I think would have given the edge to the Packers in this one anyway. Rodgers is making a strong case for back-to-back MVP award, and he has been hard to stop this season. And the Ravens defense is battered and bruised, and the Packers defense looks prime and ready to be able to shut down Hubble Jackson for a backup Huntley. And I think Packers are one of the strong contenders this season as well. I will have Packers 33-21, the result for that, Mike.
I like that. Packers all over the board. So we will see if A-Rod will get the victory. So we're going to go ahead and go over to our next covered matchup. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a.k.a. Tampa Bay. And we also have New Orleans Saints. So interesting stat. Tom Brady has thrown a pick 6 in every regular season matchup against the Saints ever since he's been with Tampa Bay. So Saints have his number. I mean, he hasn't been able to beat them once yet in the regular season. And they go to Tampa Bay for the Sunday night matchup. So Albert, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like what you said, for whatever reason, the Saints have Tom Brady's number for it flabbergasted me. But this game, the Bucs are coming in as 11-point favorites. If the Bucs do lose, it'll be the third year in a row, surprisingly, that the Saints beat the Bucks in the regular season. Like what you said, I think the Saints defense matches really well with the Bucks offense. And the Saints are always, very game plan specific, and they're very well coached as well too. For example, Marshawn Lattimore, I think he matches really well against Mike Evans, and he might even, take him out of the game just in terms of that one-on-one coverage. And I do think the Saints front four will be able to get to Brady as well too, given that pressure. One side from the Saints, though, is that Taysom Hill was still wearing that splint on his finger. And you know what? The only way I see the Saints winning this game is if they throw the ball. Yes, they'll get Alvin Kamara a couple good runs here and there. But in order for the Saints to win, I feel like Taysom Hill is going to have to throw the ball. And given his track record recently, it's not looking good for the Saints. So I think the Bucks finally break the streak, and Tom Brady is going to be able to beat the Saints this week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ben, what do the Buccaneers have to do to get their first regular season victory over the Saints in 3 seasons?
And I really want to get even with the Saints when they beat us, when they beat the Bucks in their first outings. And that was a really disappointing loss. But the Buccaneers are coming off a win against the Bills that gave them a 4-game winning streak, so they have the momentum. And I want them to really get even with the Saints and really continue that winning streak. And of course, Brady MVP season and performance definitely is looking back to get even with the Saints in their next schedule. So I'm hoping for the Bucs. It's going to be a tough game, but gonna be open with this, so it's gonna be exciting for me to watch. But I'm hoping for the Bucs to win this game.
Totally. And Mark, share with us predictions: Bucks versus Saints.
Keep it short. I think the Bucks are gonna win it. They're 6-0 at home. Came off of 4 in a row, and the Saints just won theirs last night. The last time they went out, and so I'm thinking that Tom Brady, being Tom Brady, he's gonna do his magic. It's going to be difficult for the Saints to do it, even though of course they've been having success with Tom Brady. But I'm pretty sure he's going to figure out a way, especially with 6-0 at home. They're going to want to stay undefeated at home. So that's all I got for you, Mike.
Yeah, totally, man. Both teams are kind of in a must-win situation. You have the Saints kind of on the fringe of the wild card. You have the Bucks who want to get that number 1 seed so they can get that first-round bye. But one last Tom Brady stat, guys, is ever since he's joined Tampa Bay, in the red zone, meaning 10 yards to the touchdown, he has 53 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Totally amazing. So just a food for thought for you guys. But appreciate the takes. We will be taking a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more NFL as well as tackle our question of the week. We'll be right back.
Mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?
Pag-break na daw po si Martin sa atin.
Kainan, hindi ko kailangan makita kasi maalala na kita.
Magnanakaw doon! Bilisan mo! Pulis! Pulis!
Saan ang tumakbo?
Bakit mo pinipigilan?
Ang ganda mo kasi. Ang inyong pinakabagong gag show.
Dito sa Net25.
Walang iba kundi ang Quezon City!
Galing sa diskarte at bilis sa pagpindot ng buzzer, yan ang kailangan para maging winner. Please welcome our special guest na Quezon family! Direct Eric Quezon! Jenny Quezon! Epi Quezon! Vandolph Quezon! Anong taon pinalabas ang pelikula ni Dolphy na Adolfong Hitler? Agad-agad. Bakit mo naisip si Eric?
Hindi kasi kuya ko siya, bibigyan ko siya, alam kong alam niya. Kaya pinasa ko sa kanya.
Binibigyan mo ng chance. Nakakahiya kung mali ka rito, Eric. Ilang masasabi ko. At ito ang Tara Game! Agad!
Hey everybody, welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm Michael Hudson, coming at you from Seattle, Washington. So with the NFL regular season quickly coming to a close, the MVP race has been pretty tight. You basically have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay, and Patrick Mahomes kind of teetering and tottering every single week for the MVP lead. So Mark, we'll start with you. In your eyes, who do you think is in the NFL MVP lead right now?
Realistically, I want to put Tom Brady in there for what he's been doing for the Buccaneers, but dark horse pick Kyler Murray of the Cardinals. I believe with what he's been doing in the NFC West, being especially up against the Rams as their close competitors in that division, being 7-0 away from home is really impressive, especially for a young quarterback getting his way and making his presence felt in the NFL. So I think that's a really good pick as a dark horse candidate for MVP, Kyler Murray. And then again, Tom Brady for MVP because it's Tom Brady, right?
Yep, it's Tom Brady, right? I mean, we look at the stats. I believe Tom Brady has 34 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is like at 32. Tom Brady 10 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers at 7 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers did miss one game due to COVID, and Kyler Murray had missed, I believe he missed 3 or 4 games due to his ankle injury. Ben, next with you, as far as dark horses go, besides, that top 3, who do you think has a chance to make a move or at least make a push to winning the NFL MVP?
Definitely Kyler Murray is there. Bills quarterback Josh Allen is going to be there as well. And Matthew Stafford of the Rams. The Rams are playing really well as well. Let's look at the list. We have a list that will probably on the top 10 picks to win the NFL MVP. Of course, my number 1 pick will be Tom Brady. And you have Aaron Rodgers on top 5. Dak Prescott on the 6th of Dallas Cowboys. Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. I will put also Justin Herbert of LA Chargers. And the Titans, Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr of Las Vegas Raiders. And this for me, I think on the top 10 for the MVP race for the NFL MVP 2021. But for the Bucs Nation, prepare yourselves for the GOAT to take home his 4th NFL MVP award.
This is crazy how that top 10 list is just quarterbacks. I mean, obviously, it's a quarterback-centric league. They're the most important position on the field. But
Sure.
It's just interesting how there's not any other. I guess that's why they have a defensive player of the year and things like that. But Albert, that brings a question to my mind. I mean, you see that list, you see 10 quarterbacks. What non-quarterback players you feel has a chance to make a push or at least should be recognized to be an MVP candidate?
Yeah, again, like what you said, that list is all quarterbacks and it sort of shunts all the other positions in football, even though some of them are as equally as important. One name that always comes up, especially on the defensive side, is Rams' Aaron Donald. He's someone who, can change the game. He can put so much pressure on the quarterback such that it shuts the offense down. The amount of sacks and the amount of times he's actually been recognized as Defensive Player of the Year, it's unmatched. Does the league and does the media sort of value defense that much that they would actually consider him for MVP? I don't know. Maybe one day we'll see. But again, in a league that shines with offense and the flashiness of a quarterback, I feel like the quarterbacks are always going to be front and center in terms of MVPs. Maybe one day we'll see a different position. If a running back has a blowout year where he destroys all these records, then maybe. But as of right now, it's quarterback for QB or bust, right?
Yeah, totally. And, speaking of running backs, I mean, if Derrick Henry didn't get hurt, I think he would have had a solid chance to win. I mean, he was just on a tear, and he was definitely on pace on breaking that record, especially with having that extra game in the regular season to break that all-time rushing record. And also another defensive name I wanted to throw out there was Micah Parsons, the rookie from the Dallas Cowboys. In 13 games, he has 12 sacks and 57 tackles, which is just, I mean, for a rookie, that is very, very impressive. So yeah, good takes, guys. And we're going to go ahead and answer our question of the week. So we'll finish up with that. So as we discussed heavily on today's show, Steph Curry broke the NBA's all-time three-point record. So the question is, which sports record is the most impressive? So I'll go ahead and start. I have to go with Jack Nicklaus, 18 majors in the PGA Tour, because I feel like golf is probably one of the toughest sports out there right now. Ben, how about you, my man?
Since that we're speaking of records and Scott Skiles, although his legacy as a coach isn't that really great, but he's in the NBA record books for most assists in a single game, 30 steals. Skiles completed the feat on December 30, 1990 in a 155-116 victory against the Denver Nuggets at the Orlando Arena. And I think the closest one to ever breaking that was Chicago native Kevin Porter, who made 29, and John Stockton made 28 assists. But these two have made 25 plus assists in a game on three different occasions. So I think that's impressive to have that many of assists. We're trying to really help the team win and for your teammates to score. And that's 30. And I think whoever's going to beat that's going to be impressive.
Yeah, that is, man, 30 assists. That is crazy. Albert, how about you, man?
I'm going to go with someone which I know record is not going to be beaten unless something miraculous happens, is Cal Ripken Jr.'s record of 2,632 games played consecutively. Now, to put that into perspective, that's a little over 7 years in terms of games played, and especially now in this day and age in terms of rest and even with COVID, it's tough to see a player not only in baseball, let alone in all of professional sports, to be able to be that consistent and show up every single day for, again, let me say that number again, 2,632 games straight, not missed. So definitely untouchable. Cal Ripken, the Iron Man himself. No one is going to touch that record for a long shot. I think the only chance that you can get it in is baseball because they play so many games. But even with that, to stay healthy for that long, it's going to be unmatched. So Cal Ripken Jr. is my record holder. That's most impressive.
Yeah, man, I still remember like his last game when he hit that home run. Man, that was like goosebumps everywhere. Crazy stat. And Mark, we'll close it out with you, man. What's the most impressive record in your book?
So I have two, one official and one non-official. And so the official one for the 2018 NBA rookie class, they set a record with the most paid extensions given out, with over $1 billion in extensions in a single offseason. So these rookies are getting their bag. And then for the unofficial, there was a high school game going on, I forget which county, but then the score was 2-0. An official high school game, 2-0. Never going to be broken ever again.
This is a basketball game? A
basketball game where two high school teams played, and the final score was 2-0.
Four quarters.
4 quarters, yes. 4 quarters, 10 minutes each. Score was 2-0.
Man, I'm going to feel real sorry for the team that breaks down for a 1-0. That's going to be something else. Well, hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing your takes and joining me tonight. And thank you to the viewers for joining us tonight. It's always a appreciation to have you join us. And on behalf of everyone, thank you, and tune in again next week. And make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com, and watch us on net25.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. For Eagle News, I'm Michael Hudson. We live in interesting times.
Napapansin ba ninyo lumiliwanag maliwanag ang mundo pag magkasama tayo. Life is so much sweeter.